Welcome to Alpha and Omega Segment 11, the full uncut of the slain lamb and the seven seals.
Imagine stepping through a doorway into the universe's ultimate command center. You walk into this room of absolute unfiltered power and, well, naturally you have a certain expectation of what you're going to find.
Right, you're bracing for something massive.
Exactly. I mean, if it were a blockbuster movie, you'd expect to see a towering, conquering general. An unstoppable force of nature just ready to obliterate the enemy.
Because we condition ourselves to expect power to look physically dominant. If you are standing at the epicenter of cosmic authority, you expect a roaring lion.
But when you step into the world of ancient apocalyptic literature, that expectation is turned entirely upside down. You walk into this ultimate throne room, the tension reaches this absolute boiling point, the ultimate champion of the universe is announced, and instead of a conquering military beast,
You find a wounded lamb.
yeah, you find a wounded lamb. Welcome to this deep dive. Today, our mission is to explore some of the most incredibly vivid ancient texts in human history. Specifically, the visions recorded by a first-century exile named John.
And we're going to cross-reference them with ancient prophetic writings and, surprisingly enough, 21st century global demographic data.
Which is wild. But just to be clear, we are not here to debate theology.
No, not at all. Our goal is to decode how these ancient accounts constructed a staggering vision of a cosmic crisis, absolute authority, and a highly paradoxical resolution.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before any of the narrative action happens, the scene itself is just architecturally mind-bending. John describes transitioning from everyday earthly reality to a heavenly reality via a door standing open.
Yeah, and that open door is a vital mechanism for the reader. It signifies that the realm of ultimate truth, which is usually closed off to normal human perception, is suddenly accessible. God is revealing secret purposes.
But he doesn't just walk through it like a normal door, right?
Right. The text specifies he is immediately in the spirit. This describes a heightened state of sensitivity that's required to endure and, actually comprehend these realities.
If you're listening to this and trying to picture that transition, it's almost like putting on a hyper-advanced VR headset that suddenly drops you into the control room of reality.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
But instead of a CEO sitting behind a mahogany desk, you're hit with this terrifying, beautiful, unending light show. And what stands out immediately is that the text actively avoids describing God in any recognizable human form.
Instead of a human figure, the one on the throne is communicated entirely through the brilliant refraction of precious gems.
Like jasper and carnelian.
Exactly. You have the appearance of jasper, which in the ancient world represented brilliant, flawless glory, alongside sardius or carnelian, which is a deep, blood-red stone symbolizing fiery justice and righteous judgment.
So you have this intense, burning justice radiating outward, but it is completely wrapped in an emerald green rainbow.
Which operates as a perpetual visual reminder of a covenant of mercy.
So the fiery justice is perfectly contained by a ring of mercy.
Yes. But even with that ring of mercy, though, this is not a quiet, meditative space.
Far from it.
The atmosphere is deliberately terrifying. Out from the throne come flashes of lightning, rumblings, and peals of thunder.
Which would mean something very specific to an ancient reader.
Oh, absolutely. For the ancient reader, this specific atmospheric turbulence is a direct engineered echo of the presence of God at Mount Sinai in the book of Exodus. It's a mechanism meant to evoke pure, trembling awe.
Wow.
And stretching out before this throne is a sea of glass like crystal, representing a vast, unshakable, transparent holiness that distances the throne from everything else.
You aren't just looking at architecture either. The room is actually populated. There is an entire heavenly entourage.
Right. You have these 24 elders seated on their own thrones around the center, wearing white garments and golden crowns.
Historically, this number is a combination of the 12 tribes of Israel and the 12 apostles. So essentially representing the entirety of the redeemed people of God.
But the elders aren't even the strangest part of the room. You have the four living creatures.
Yeah, if you were trying to visualize these beings, it sounds like a biological nightmare.
It really does. They are stationed right at the throne, and they are covered entirely in eyes. What's fascinating here is the historical cross-reference that grounds this bizarre imagery.
You were talking about the Ezekiel connection.
Precisely. The description of these living creatures, along with the rainbow-circled throne itself, perfectly mirrors the visions recorded centuries earlier by the prophet Ezekiel.
And Ezekiel was a priest living among displaced, traumatized exiles in Babylon, right?
Right. He saw the heavens open in a storm wind of flashing fire. He saw four living beings alongside massive wheels within wheels covered in eyes, beneath an expanse of awesome crystal and a lapis lazuli throne.
So the visual continuity is identical.
It is, and it serves a profound psychological purpose for the original audience. By mirroring Ezekiel's exact imagery, this new vision proves to its readers that the very same God who appeared to the broken exiles in Babylon, the God of history, is the one currently seated on this throne bringing final judgment.
And the eyes covering the creatures aren't meant to be grotesque.
No, they're the ancient mechanical symbol for absolute vigilance and omniscience. They miss nothing.
And their four faces are incredibly specific, too. One is a lion, one is an ox, one is a man, and the fourth is a flying eagle.
In ancient Near Eastern iconography, those four faces represent the absolute apex of all creation.
The lion is supreme among wild animals, the ox among domesticated animals.
The eagle among birds and man represents the pinnacle of intelligence.
Right, so you have the sheer peak of the created order stationed around the throne, engaging in a perpetual, unending cycle of worship. Day and night, they never stop singing the Trisagion. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God the Almighty.
And every single time they sing that, the 24 elders fall out of their own thrones.
They take off their golden crowns and cast them on the crystal floor in total submission, praising God simply for being the creator by whose will all things exist.
So you have this breathtaking, eternal cycle of praise.
It feels like the climax of the universe, but suddenly all that perfect music just stops.
Yeah, the eternal liturgy just hits a wall.
A massive cosmic crisis disrupts the throne room.
The environmental awe abruptly shifts to a single object. The one seated on the throne is holding a scroll in his right hand, and the text provides two crucial details about this scroll.
Okay, what are they?
First, it is written on the inside and on the back. There is no blank parchment left. This means it represents the complete, finalized decree of God's purposes for history.
Nothing can be added and nothing can be altered.
Exactly.
So it's the finished script of human destiny.
Second, it is secured with 7 seals. To understand the gravity of that, we have to look at the legal mechanisms of the Roman world.
Because a highly important legal document, particularly a final will and testament or a title deed,
Right.
was legally secured with 7 wax seals.
Right. It was designed so that it could only be legally opened by the designated rightful heir. This scroll functions as the ultimate title deed to the earth itself.
And with the title deed to the earth sitting there, a strong angel steps forward and shouts a challenge to the entire universe. Who is worthy to open the scroll and break its seals?
It's a call for the rightful heir to step up.
And the response is absolute terrifying silence. No one in heaven, no one on the earth, and no one under the earth is able to open it or even look at it.
Creation itself, even at its absolute peak, represented by those living creatures, is intellectually and morally utterly incapable of managing human destiny.
The legal error just cannot be found. I want to push back on what happens next, though, because it really challenges how we typically think of heaven.
How so?
Well, John is standing in the ultimate control room. He is surrounded by an emerald rainbow, a crystal sea, glowing gems, angelic beings. It is the definition of perfect glory. But the text says he begins to weep greatly. He just has a total breakdown.
He does.
If heaven is supposed to be a place of pure joy, why is the visionary sobbing uncontrollably on the glass floor?
The theological term for what John is experiencing is holy sorrow. You have to recognize the stakes of that silence. John suddenly realizes that if those 7 seals remain unbroken, the scroll stays closed forever. That means God's ultimate purposes for justice, for making a broken world right, for the redemption of humanity. None of it will ever happen. Evil will simply remain unchecked.
It's the crushing despair of seeing the finish line, but realizing the race has been canceled.
Which connects directly to the ancient prophecies of Daniel. Centuries earlier, in Daniel chapter 12, Daniel received visions of the end of history, but was explicitly commanded by a divine messenger to conceal these words and seal up the book until the end of time.
Wow, okay, so John is standing there, witnessing the precise moment that ancient seal is finally supposed to be broken.
And the climax of history has arrived, but it appears to be ending in a catastrophic failure.
But just as this despair hits its absolute peak, the narrative delivers the ultimate plot twist. One of the 24 elders steps over to John and says, "Stop weeping. Behold, the lion that is from the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has overcome so as to open the scroll."
And those are not subtle titles. Lion of Judah and Root of David are aggressive, messianic military titles.
They promise a warrior king, an unbreakable royal dynasty that will conquer by force.
They signal the arrival of an undefeated champion ready to shatter the enemy.
Here's where it gets really interesting. John hears this announcement. He wipes away his tears, expecting to turn around and see a roaring, magnificent, massive Lion of Judah stepping up to the throne.
But instead, it is a cosmic bait and switch.
He turns and sees a lamb standing as if slain. I mean, think about how jarring that is. It's less like calling for reinforcements and more like, imagine you're pinned down in a brutal battle, all hope is lost, and command radios in that they are dropping an unstoppable, heavily armored nuclear submarine to turn the tide.
Right.
The smoke clears, the doors open, and a wounded field medic walks out instead. It completely defies the logic of power.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you are looking at the central defining paradox of the Christian narrative. The ultimate victory over evil, the conquering of death, and the absolute legal right to hold the title deed of the earth was not achieved through overwhelming destructive military force.
It was achieved through a willing, sacrificial death.
The lion conquers by being the slain lamb.
But this lamb isn't just a normal wounded animal. It's described with incredibly bizarre features that, again, if you try to draw them literally, look monstrous.
Because the lamb has 7 horns and 7 eyes.
But ancient apocalyptic literature uses numbers as a coded language, right? The number 7 represents perfection and completeness.
Let's break down the mechanics of those symbols. In ancient biblical literature, a horn is the universal symbol of power and strength, derived from the devastating impact of a wild ox.
Okay.
The Gospel of Luke references God raising up a horn of salvation in the house of David. So 7 horns represents omnipotence, complete absolute power.
So the lamb looks vulnerable, but it actually wields the unstoppable power of the cosmos.
Exactly. And then you have the 7 eyes, which the text explicitly identifies as the 7 spirits of God sent out into all the earth.
Which represents omniscience, perfect, penetrating knowledge.
We see this exact mechanism in Isaiah chapter 11, which describes the Spirit of the Lord resting upon the Messiah, granting the spirit of wisdom, understanding, counsel, strength, knowledge, and the fear of the Lord.
So you have a figure who completely embodies vulnerability and sacrifice, yet simultaneously possesses flawless power and flawless knowledge.
And this slain lamb simply steps forward right up to the throne and takes the scroll out of the right hand of God. There is no battle. There is no struggle for control.
It's just a seamless, absolute transfer of cosmic judgment and authority.
And the reaction to the lamb taking the scroll is instantaneous.
It isn't just a quiet passing of a document. It's like a massive chain reaction in a nuclear reactor. The moment the lamb touches the scroll, the energy shifts. The 4 living creatures and the 24 elders immediately drop to the floor in worship.
But this time they are holding very specific items.
Harps and bowls, right?
Yes. They hold harps, the ancient instruments of prophetic praise. But crucially, they also hold golden bowls full of incense. And the text refuses to leave this to the imagination. It explicitly states that this incense is the prayers of the saints.
Meaning that the cries for justice, the agonizing pleas for help from oppressed people throughout all of human history didn't just evaporate into the ether.
No, they were meticulously collected, preserved in golden bowls, and are actively being poured out at the absolute epicenter of cosmic authority at the exact moment the scroll is secured.
Wow.
It serves as an ultimate validation of human suffering. None of it was ignored. And as they pour out these bowls, they sing a new song.
They declare that the lamb is legally worthy to open the seals specifically because he was slain.
The song states that his blood functioned as a ransom, a definitive purchase price.
And the scope of who this ransom purchased is staggering. It purchased people for God from every tribe and tongue and people and nation, transforming them into a kingdom of priests.
Which is an incredible claim.
So what does this all mean? This is where stepping back and looking at modern reality becomes truly shocking. I mean, think about the historical context here. John is a political prisoner.
Right.
He is exiled on Patmos, a tiny rocky island in the Mediterranean in the 1st century, living under the crushing boot of the Roman Empire. And he writes down a vision claiming this slain lamb will build a kingdom out of literally every tribe and tongue on earth.
Fast forward to today, Linguists estimate there are over 7,000 distinct languages spoken globally.
And if you look at the people alive right now who claim to have been ransomed by this exact lamb, the global Christian population, the demographic spread is mind-blowing.
The statistical distribution perfectly mirrors the ancient prophecy.
It's wild. Today, this population is almost perfectly quartered across the globe.
Yes, if you look at the demographic data today, you have sub-Saharan Africa making up roughly 26%. Europe is also about 26%.
Latin America and the Caribbean hold about 24%.
The Asia-Pacific region represents around 13%, and North America makes up about 11%.
It is entirely decentralized. There is no single empire forcing that borders-wide demographic spread today. The math of a localized first-century group expanding to perfectly blanket 7,000 languages across every major continent shouldn't work.
This raises an important question. How did an ancient text predict a global shift of this magnitude without relying on a centralized military conquest?
It spread entirely as a belief system centered on the paradox of a sacrificed lamb.
And the architecture of the vision itself actively anticipates this massive, uncontrollable expansion in its final crescendo.
The concentric circles of worship.
Yes.
This is the mechanical climax of the entire scene. The nuclear chain reaction reaches critical mass.
The structure of the sound is brilliant. The wave of worship starts at the very center, the inner circle, with just the 4 creatures and the 24 elders singing the new song.
But then it immediately ripples outward to a middle circle. John describes hearing the voices of angels surrounding the throne, numbering myriads and thousands of thousands.
We're talking hundreds of millions of angelic beings roaring with a loud voice. They deliver a perfect 7-fold blessing to the Lamb.
They declare him worthy to receive power, riches, wisdom, might, honor, glory, and blessing. 7 total attributes of praise for the Lamb, with 7 horns and 7 eyes.
But the ripple refuses to stop there. It violently expands to hit the absolute outer boundary of reality itself.
The final circle encompasses literally every created thing. John hears every single creature in heaven, on the earth, under the earth, and on the sea, joining together in one massive, unified, deafening voice.
Assigning blessing and dominion to the one on the throne and to the Lamb forever and ever.
After this unimaginably loud, universe-shaking roar of universal praise, the 4 living creatures at the center simply say, Amen. Let it be so.
And the elders fall down and worship one last time.
The cosmic crisis is completely resolved. The unopenable scroll is secure in the hands of the rightful heir. The tension is broken.
The narrative takes the reader from the absolute brink of total despair to the highest possible peak of universal harmony.
It really is a masterful piece of literature. Think about the journey this text just took you on. We started with an isolated visionary stepping through an open door into a terrifying, sensory overload room of lightning and crystal.
We felt the profound, holy sorrow of a crisis over an unopenable scroll that held the legal destiny of the world.
We witnessed the shocking, paradoxical bait and switch of a slaughtered lamb holding the absolute, terrifying power of a conquering lion.
And it all culminated in a universal song of ransom that, against all historical odds, accurately mirrors the sweeping, decentralized global demographics of our world today.
It forces any reader to completely reevaluate the true nature of power and the mechanisms by which ultimate victory is actually secured in human history.
It really does.
Which leaves you with something pretty heavy to think about as we wrap up this deep dive. Let's go back to those 24 elders sitting in the inner circle of the vision. They possess their own thrones. They have been given white garments and golden crowns.
Right.
They have achieved a level of status and authority that most people would spend multiple lifetimes fighting, bleeding, and betraying others to acquire. And yet, their immediate, repeated, reflexive response to encountering true, absolute authority is to physically take those crowns off their own heads and cast them onto the glass floor.
They willingly surrender the ultimate symbols of their own power, fully acknowledging that their authority is entirely derivative of something greater.
So here is a final thought for you to mull over today. We live in a modern world that is completely, ruthlessly obsessed with building personal empires. We are all scrambling every single day to acquire our own golden crowns, whether that takes the form of financial wealth, social status, digital influence, or professional expertise.
We desperately want to be the one sitting on the throne calling the shots.
But what would it actually look like for you to possess that ultimate level of success, to finally hold the golden crown you've been working so hard to secure, only to willingly cast it at the feet of something infinitely greater than yourself?
That is a profound question.
If you ever find yourself stepping through that open door, you might just find that standing in the room of ultimate power requires a very different kind of posture.
Thank you for joining Segment 11. Visit our digital archives for atonal resources.